Sit back and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. This stream will begin in time. Thank you for your patience. Grab a drink, sit back, and explore the paranormal with us. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show.
As far back as I can remember, I dreamt of a normal life. A life filled with normal things. A life where monsters don't live in closets or under the bed. A life where ghosts aren't real. I just wanted to be normal. But that didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be. Since my early 20s, I've experienced profound paranormal events that would change my life. Extreme poltergeist activity, living amongst those that have departed this earth in ways unimaginable. It has affected my loved ones and children with no end in sight. I could hear things, see things, and feel things not of this world. I asked myself if this was a gift or a curse. With the help of my mother and close friends, I emerged a paranormal investigator. Since 2013, I have been on a relentless journey to learn about the paranormal. I invite you to follow me into the unknown. Welcome to the Necromancer Live Show.
Hello, and welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. I'm your host, Justin Brown, and tonight we're going to have a discussion about ancestral trauma. It's interesting to think that you can inherit the trauma from your ancestors, whether it be genetic or otherwise. Let's talk about it. We have Becky Young with us tonight. How are you, Becky?
Hello. Good. How are you?
I am okay. I am prepared to talk about things I understand. So the generic definition of this is you experience trauma, which is a range of different things you can experience. Trauma could be depression, PTSD, what have you, anxiety, anything traumatic to you could be passed on to you. And the ancestral trauma part of it is it's not something that's caused by anything in your immediate environment. So that is what I want to talk about. I feel like everybody basically in general is aware that you can inherit, if you have a lot of like chronic depression in your genetics, I think people understand that you're, have a high probability that you will become depressed or are in fact born with a high probability of being depressed naturally. Alcoholism, drug addiction, that type of stuff. I know you could probably speak about that a little bit doing what you do. Explain to everybody what you do real quick, if you don't mind, so they kind of know where you're coming from.
I work at a community health center, and we treat family medicine. We do drug addiction treatment. We do behavioral health and dental treatment.
I feel like the stars aligned on this. I feel like you are one of our friends that have supported this show and everything that we've done that would have something that I would want to hear someone say about this subject matter. I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but I feel like you see a lot of trauma in people day to day, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
So
see a lot of you see a lot of behavioral health problems that go along with drug addiction. And so part of the treatment at our clinic is they're treated with medications, but they also have to go through counseling portions of it as well to treat the whole entire thing.
right, because the medications kind of just help with the short term, issues that you would have to kind of get you into a space to where you can start working on it long term, like trying to actually be aware of your behavior and your situations, what triggers it, what causes it, and try to work your way through how to stop your behavior from, doing things bad and moving into things good.
Right.
Do you help with that treatment, or what is your specific job?
So I used to work at the very front desk, and I'd, check in. So I saw everybody. Now I do referrals. So if they come in and, most people who have used intravenous drugs have hepatitis or they have other health problems, bad ones. I send them wherever they need to go, gastroenterology, neurology, wherever.
Understood. Very, very interesting. So I know when I asked you to come on the show, it was obvious that we're like, hey man, I'm not quite sure what ancestral trauma is. And I kind of gave you a generic definition of it so you can kind of, do your homework as I do when I do these shows about topics. Imagine that a lot of these shows that I do, I have to do research on. At some point, I've done research in the past on them, or I have a general knowledge of it, or somewhat of an intuition about what it could be. Now, a lot of the stuff, obviously, I study all the time, but this is one of these shows where someone brings something up in chat, we start talking about it, and it starts to connect with us one way or another. And hey, we're here talking about it. So now that I've asked you to come on the show and you've had a few days to think about it, how can you relate to the term ancestral trauma? Do you feel like you deal with it at all, or do you still have no idea?
Probably. Probably. I probably deal with it myself in my own personal life. But it's very interesting because the more I've researched it, it could get pretty complex, I think.
Sure. I mean, just medically and genetically, it's complex.
Oh yeah.
It's
The
nothing
genetic
seen.
part of it is wild.
So I feel like we will talk about genetics when it's relevant, but I feel like our audience, especially me and you, probably would be really interested in how ancestral trauma can be passed on spiritually. I know that seems odd, but do you feel like that is not only a thing, but you feel like a lot of people deal with it in general? Or do you feel like it's only certain people with abilities?
I think probably everybody deals with it in some
They have to, right?
form. Yeah,
Whether they know it or not?
yeah. And I think everything's passed on from, it would have, if your parents had trauma or your grandparents had trauma, it affects how they raise you as a person. So it's going to keep going down the line, one way or the other,
Right. So I'm
even
thinking we're
spiritually.
me and you both have children, so we know we've passed on things to them genetically. We know we've basically conditioned them with our own trauma, like, either through marriage or just working or just the stress you deal with and trauma you deal with raising a child and dealing with, life in general. That affects them. So they're going to get that kind of effect. It's going to affect them. But I feel like when the show, a couple of shows back, we talked about egregores and we talked about like the energy field that a family and other groups create. I feel like that can tie in to ancestral trauma. Ancestral. I almost said ancestral. Please, please don't let me do that again. Ancestral trauma, and I feel like if there is some type of energy construct affecting us, it's almost become like an entity. It should be affecting us all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. And then if so, how is it affecting us if it's not physically? Is it like, have you thought about that? And Missy,
I
jump in
haven't.
here
It
because
makes sense.
Missy, I mean, have you thought about this at all? And chat, please let me know what you think about this because I feel like it's important to get everybody's feedback. But Missy, have you thought about the spiritual side of ancestral trauma at all?
I have, which is weird because usually that's not what I think about, but I have. Like, you know, what does what is a past life regression? Have you ever had one? What do they do? You know? But more than that, like, did something that like my great grandma do, did she do something to affect me in some way, shape, or form spiritually? Like, is she still doing it? Because we talk about the other realm and that, we don't know where they are. We don't know if they're here on Earth with us or if they're in another dimension or wherever. So, is she coming back and haunting me? Is she doing something, to affect me in some way, shape, or form?
Like, what would you speculate she would do? Like, did she have to deal with any kind of trauma? Did she have like mental health issues or anything like that?
Um, well, I don't know. I know somewhere along the line, which this will intrigue you, I am related to the Gaff family.
I knew that.
So, are they, affecting me wanting to, you know, figure out what happened in the mansion or, the haunting? Are
So
they
do you,
pushing me along, telling me what I'm supposed to be doing?
okay, so like what things have you noticed if that's true? Like do you feel like you have this obsessive compulsion to go there and to solve it, or how's that happen?
Like, um, they said sometimes you can hear Sarah in the mansion crying.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since when the last time we went there, I can hear her crying and I can hear like paper ripping. Like, she ripped everything that he had, everything with his name on it, to shreds. And I can hear paper ripping and her crying, and
So,
I smell smoke out of nowhere. Like, why?
do you feel like empaths or any type of empathic sense deals with not only ancestral trauma, but it deals with trauma of everyone that you come in contact spiritually with? Do you think those relate? What do you think, Becky?
I do think they relate. And I was actually gonna ask, if you have some sort of trauma, do you think that if you were sensitive, that people who passed on who also had that type of trauma would be more attracted to you?
That's a good question.
Yes, I think it depends. So a lot of times people like will think that I have certain views on spirits. I actually feel like you've probably heard me say this before. Let's just say your grandmother like was lived in a house for 50, 60 years with her husband, with your grandpa, but then she got old, she moved to a rest home, and then she kind of spent her last years there. But it wasn't really her. She was, losing her sanity, as old people tend to do, losing her senses and her personality, and you kind of like remembering them as they were younger, and so they like to remember themselves when they're in their prime. So you will see aspects of their spirit in the homes that they grew up in or they resided in for a long time, the place they called home, and they had their family dinners, so on and so forth. But you will also pick up on their energy at the rest homes and at those places. And it could be a hospital, it could be a healthcare facility, right? So I feel like not only can you connect with them if you're empathic, and you tend to gravitate towards certain types of emotions. I feel like you can pull from certain points in people's lives and not really directly come in contact with what people call their souls, because I feel like we're all wrong about that. So if I go into rest homes, I immediately start picking up on empathic trauma, like fear, anxiety, depression, all those types of things. Like, it just comes through, it spikes hard. But I can also sense when I go into people's residence for residential cases, when I used to do them quite frequently, I would see other aspects of them outside of that. There's like layers of trauma, of emotion, of energy, and memories. And I feel like that's super interesting. So I feel like it just depends on how you're trying to connect at that certain time. But people have tendencies to be empathic towards certain things because they just hit harder. You know what I mean? Like, they're like triggering. They trigger either PTSD or they trigger something that you're very sensitive to, and it's almost like you're unconsciously reaching your fingers out to feel those things when you go in there, whether you know it or not. You're like, oh, is there someone in here? Like, if you're in the hospital, you're like, Becky might be like, oh, I work in a hospital and I see people that I feel bad for all the time, and I'm constantly trying to console them or make them feel better or do whatever. And maybe if you go into a place like that, you're unconsciously reaching out and trying to connect with folks like that, hypothetically. So I feel like that definitely can happen. But I actually feel like anything's really possible. It just depends on the moment, or, other factors that we probably don't think of. I don't know if that answered your question, but I feel like all those things are possible, and all those things are probably important to think about. Do we need to shout out anything, Missy? Anybody?
I can read off the list. We
Read
have
off the list.
Sam Thomas, we have Joseph, we have Darren Smith, Derek Schreiner, Heath Edwards, Shannon Morrison, Troy Haney, Shannon said, sorry guys, late, but Kendall has RSV. Last 4 weeks, a new virus every week.
Oh my God. It's always something. I'm sorry to hear that. How are you feeling, Missy? Are you over the vid?
We are. Eric went back to work today.
My gosh. Did it suck?
Yeah, it sucked. He had 103 temperature for 2 days.
Yeah,
it sucked bad.
So I think what a good thing to address about the ancestral trauma topic is all this crap I'm going through my fault? You know what I mean? It's like, am I causing this, or is it just, I'm getting it from the ancestors? You know what I mean? So let's just say you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with drug addiction, or you're dealing with some type of trauma, but you really can't pinpoint why you should be, or there is seemingly no reason that you are. And I feel like a lot of people could probably relate to that. I know I do. I wonder why I'm pissed off all the time. Well, I know my dad was pissed off all the time. Is that why? It could be, genetics and all that. But is it more than that? You have to wonder, is there some type of energetic reason why people deal with the trauma they deal with? Now, I've read a couple of things. The first thing I think of about ancestral trauma, like as a whole, would be like Native Americans or indigenous people here in Americas dealing with being, basically tortured and killed and, dying of illness, just basically deleted of their culture, their children ripped from them and just sanitized of their, language and culture. I mean, that's horrible. That's traumatic, right? That's really bad. So indigenous people now, or people who have indigenous, genetics or lineage, do they still suffer from that trauma? What do you think, Becky?
Yes. I think
Why?
they do.
Why?
Well, they did a study, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I read all about this study, and then they also studied Holocaust survivors, and I think maybe some people who were descendants of people who were slaves. And if it can change the way your body reads DNA, then certainly it changes everything about you, right? That's my thought.
It can make your day really, really rough, like out of the gate. Right. So all the things that could go wrong will go wrong out of the gate. So, like, just look at, Native Americans. Not Native American, I'm sorry, African Americans. Like, let's go recently. So, a lot of people would be looking at African American culture and be like, well, what's their deal? Slavery's over. Well, they've had to deal with the ancestral trauma that just happened a few hundred years ago, and all the stuff that they had to endure. And not only them, the Chinese, the Irish, everybody that was basically immigrants over here and basically forced into slavery to survive, they're all going to be dealing with that. So you got number one issue, I'm just going to go out and say it, with African American society is family structure. Like, there's so many broken families. Like, what is the most traumatic thing you can probably endure? It would be a broken family, I would imagine. That's up there anyway. Then you got
right now on the news, there's a woman that was in court today for shooting her 3-month-old granddaughter in the head.
Why?
She didn't give a reason. She just shot her granddaughter in the head.
So, Shannon, I know you made the comment about trauma is written in the DNA. What if it's written in the fabric of space and time? What if it's written in the energy, the fundamental energy that governs all matter in this 3D space? What if that energy has separate fields that are tied to our families and our lineage. So it goes beyond DNA, but it involves the DNA because that's how it works through the DNA, most definitely. But if you go deeper, how can Reiki, how can energy healing, how could psychic phenomena address this? So I found out in the last few years that energy healing is huge when it comes to this. It's huge when you're looking at not only the chakras in the body, but the energy fields that surround the body, that are connected to the body, that permeate space and time. I feel like we're at the point where we need collectively start looking at this in this way, because I think there are so many more benefits than pharmaceuticals and even therapy, because not everybody responds to therapy like you would like them to. But I feel like some people that don't respond to therapy and pharmaceuticals respond to energy healing, potentially. I notice that certain people respond to energy healing way better than anything else that I've seen. But I feel like the very few people I have done it with still need to break some behavioral habits and cycles. And I feel like energy healing is not only the one-all cure-all, but it's a door you can open. Yeah, it's
a good start.
Have you ever had any Reiki or energy healing done to you, Becky?
I have.
What do you think about it?
It's very different. I had it done probably 2 years ago, and I went to someone local, and she doesn't put her hands on you or anything, but you feel really different when you come out of there. And she literally almost made me cry, which I'm not a crier, so it was a different experience.
Oh, it sounds like she opened up something.
Yeah. So it was very, very different. Jason was like, I can't believe you paid money to have somebody just put their hands on top of you. And I was like, well, I can't even explain how it felt,
You know what they tell me when I do it to them? Most of the time they tell me that they feel high.
Yeah, it's a almost euphoric feeling. But she really she touched on something, because I was like emotional when I left, and I'm typically not very emotional about anything. Because
was it anything specific, or nothing you can pinpoint?
She said a couple of things to me about like a blockage, like I block things out, I block emotions out. And when she said it, I was just like, oh my gosh, and I was like a baby, it was just so odd.
That is, I feel like if you would went into a psychiatrist and they would have told you the same thing, you wouldn't have had the same result, right?
No. No.
What I've noticed is when I do it, and I'm going to assume that it's like this for most people who do it, it's about healing yourself, cleansing yourself, so you can prepare yourself as a conduit for whatever energy transfer that takes place with you and the subject. And the subject basically gets radiated with some type of energy that not only cleanses and realigns the energy vortices inside your body, but it unblocks things, like almost like, if you have a blocked artery, it's like going in there with a little balloon and opening it up so blood flow can happen. It's almost like the flow of energy that was blocked before could flow. And that would make sense, because if you trying to repress emotion, and it's been like that for a while, and if it gets unblocked, you're going to be flooded with it, and you're going to get emotional. It's common sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it was a different experience. It was definitely different.
All right. Missy
And I
is.
do block, so I know I do. So yeah.
I feel everybody blocks. Like everybody has to do it at some point and somehow, right? Like if you don't block something daily, you're just going to be a mess. You know what I mean? Like just going to work, just driving to work, you have to block. Like it
Oh
sucks.
yeah.
You know, dealing with traffic, dealing with people, going to the store, you got to block. Going to work, you got to block it out. You know, the same old crap. It's like block, 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 block. So I feel like it's a necessary evil that we have to do to cope with life. Missy, do you relate to what Becky said about Reiki, or do you have anything else to add about that? I've never had Reiki done to me. I have no idea what it's like.
Oh, you should get it done.
Maybe I should.
You should.
You have to have it done at least once.
I don't know who would do it.
We'll get Holly to do it.
Who?
Holly.
Oh, well, she's far away.
She could do distant Reiki.
I feel like. I mean, I'm open to it, but I feel like it. I don't know. Like
Different
you
when
would
you
know
go
more
in,
than.
like,
Go ahead.
I went to a place and had it done, and you actually lay on like almost a massage table, and they're right there in the room with you, and it's a different experience.
So I feel like that's what I would want for the first time.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Kelly does it, yeah.
She does the sound healing though.
Yeah, but she does Reiki too.
I'm afraid that I would block it. I'm afraid that I would block it because I don't know. I'm afraid I'd fuck it up somehow. But I would totally be open to it. I feel like if someone's good, it would be good. They would find a way around my shenanigans and help me.
You would probably benefit more from the sound healing than you would the Reiki. Because it's harder to block the sound than it is the energy.
I don't know. It could be. I'm just ready to.
Because the person you are, you vibrate with the sound more than you do anything.
You sure that's not Josh?
Well, yeah.
It could be me. I don't know.
You're that, solfeggio tones, the music when you sleep person.
When I do it, I use music,
right.
But it's more like a relaxing thing. It's not necessarily like a certain frequency or tone.
Right. But if they could combine the sound therapy with the Reiki, you would probably accept that better because, you're more than likely to block the energy. The sound is more your, what you absorb more of.
I absorb calories. I absorb cheese. That's what I fucking absorb. No, so if anybody's out there hearing me right now,
not caffeine.
Oh, I absorb plenty of caffeine too. I absorb all the things. But yeah, if you're willing to hit me up in my DMs or my email, let me know. I'm not the person to go out and pay for metaphysical work. I think that's what stopped me this whole time.
Because everyone knows I paid.
Everyone knows I'm into weird crap. Like you would think that, I would have spend a small fortune on it, but I haven't spent a penny. With the exception of like stuff like to make the things, like, but not for like healing or like a fortune telling or a reading or anything.
Is it a thing to give yourself Reiki?
Yeah, but it's different. Like when I do it, it's like you go through like a ritual of cleansing yourself first, and like every time I do it, I feel like I am done Reiki to myself, but it can't be the same like someone else doing it to you, because I feel like when I do it to someone, they're just completely relaxed, laying down, being open to the whole thing and not trying to do anything. And I feel like that's what I need. I don't feel like I need to be, focusing on myself. It just doesn't seem like it's the same. I don't know. I could be wrong. Is anybody out there, give yourself Reiki and have it work? Let me know. Let me know if it heals your ancestral trauma. I know that I have plenty of alcoholism, drug addiction, depression. Who doesn't? Name me one person out there that doesn't. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there with no worries at all. But I don't talk to them.
Well,
Me either.
I mean, your mom, is like the anti-ancestral trauma, because you don't get any of that from her. She's the same person.
How do you know?
She's the same person. Every time I've been with your mother, she's the same person every time, no matter whether she's fighting mad or,
I mean, if that's the way it was with you, that's interesting. It's not like that with me. Every time I see her, I can tell what mood she's in or how she's been doing. Of course, she's my mother. I'm going to,
right,
have a really good idea. She struggles just like the next person, but she does well with, dealing with it externally.
Right.
But I feel like the healers that deal with the most trauma or have had the most experience with trauma make them good healers. Because
people that have never experienced this, but they can't understand people who do. I thought everyone had crazy things happen weekly.
No, they don't.
Maybe.
No.
They don't, Shannon. Some people going throughout their life like, these people believing in ghosts are stupid. These people believe they have psychic abilities are liars and thieves. They're out there. And you know what? I don't blame them. If they don't experience anything and they don't see the effects of psychic phenomena at all, why should they believe in it? I envy those people. I wish I was them. Because, and let me know, Becky, Missy, and those in the chat, let me know what you think about this statement. I feel like the more in touch with spirit and the spiritual realm you are, and the more empathic you are, the more your life sucks.
Sometimes.
the rougher your life is, because you're feeling it like it's your own stuff, and you're so intuitive and so sensitive to that, end of the spectrum of life experience. Like, it just feels like we lower our vibration, or we get really sensitive to lower vibratory energy, and we get constantly pinged by it and stuck in it like muck every day. I'm just speaking for myself.
Suck you in.
That's right.
Big time.
It's like a fucking vortex that you get trapped in. Help!
But it's only freaking Walmart.
Yeah, poor
I
Derek
ain't
will go
going
into Walmart and he barely makes it out of them.
I won't even go in there.
She's like, no Walmart for me. It is bad.
I order everything and pick it up.
I need to start doing that. I'm stupid. I don't even know why I go in there. It's dumb. You don't even have to go in there. I just choose to. I don't know if I just like going in there and be like impulse buying the food I want. Like staring at an app and be like, I want this. I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not there yet.
You don't buy any extras that way.
No. I'd probably lose 100 pounds. I have lost almost 30 pounds in the last couple months.
I know.
That's crazy.
That's good.
I hope it keeps going. Josh, I know what you mean. What are you talking about? You know what I mean by feeling like. Let me know what you're talking about, because I totally forget what I was talking about when you said that. I've talked about 500 things in the last 120 seconds, it feels like. Sam says, seems like you can do outer body and connect. I can't get that relaxed. I wish I was like that too. Ignorance is bliss. Yeah, I have not been happier since I've been doing the paranormal work that I've been doing. I have not been any happier. Hauntings are unnatural aberrations of consciousness. It's like, why do I like that? Why do I surround myself with that stuff? I'm crazy. There's something wrong with me. Something wrong with us all. I was just go ahead.
I was just advising a mom on the RSV vaccine a couple days ago. Told her how lucky Kendall was to be in trials as a preemie 12 years ago, and bam, she gets RSV for the first time ever at 12. A couple days later, I cannot say I'm lucky.
No. Nope. That's nuts. That is crazy. I can't believe that, actually. That is... So what do we do about ancestral trauma? How can we heal? First step is to be aware of it, right? To know that it's happening. What is happening and why? So the more you know about your ancestors, the more you know about your family tree and what their trauma is and how it correlates with yours. Is there like some type of feedback loop or anything compounding going on there? If there is, and we've exhausted all the normal channels of help, maybe we could seek supernatural help. If it's indeed a supernatural source. Maybe we need to get people on the show to talk about this more. Maybe I should just go out in the woods with some type of like shaman for like a week. That's going to be my first week's vacation next year.
No, it's not.
I'm going to How do you know? You don't know.
I know.
You don't know.
It'll have something to do with Awen.
She don't play softball next summer. She'll be graduated and in college.
No. That's weird.
What is that thing all those people did where they took that drug and they went to those places and they stayed and had out-of-body experiences?
Ayahuasca?
Yeah. Travis tried to get me to do that.
Travis.
That's a hard no.
Jason's your husband, right?
Yeah, Travis is the one that ghost hunts with us all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I hard passed on that.
Yeah, I don't see you being a volunteer for that. I feel like some people would benefit if they really need to be jolted. You know, if they feel like they've exhausted every other thing. You know, I know on the last show I talked about psychedelics as a form of jarring the system to get, you know, your senses aligned and getting your ego in check. I felt like there was times when I done it years ago that there was benefits, but I wasn't in a scenario where I was using it in that way. I was just trying to get high, which is not what you want to do. You want to have an environment where it's being given to you with what's the word?
In
Microdosing, no. You want to get punched in the face with it. No. I feel like I just have to pay my lumps in this life, try to break the cycle, and set a better foundation because my family must have kicked puppies and beat babies in past generations. I pay the dues. It's possible. I think your situation, since I know more about your situation than the average person I haven't met in chat, I don't know. What I would say to you would be different than someone I don't really know. I feel like there's a lot of things that happen in our life that's out of our control or we're ignorant to. I feel like there's a reason why people that feel like they have bad luck or have bad things happen to them feel like it's karma, feel like they did something in the past life. I totally get why they think that. But I feel like how we perceive things is everything. I feel like our attitude and our perceptions to things that happen to us are huge in how we react to them and how we deal and cope with them. I feel like I know somebody that's had, if I had their life, I wouldn't be happy with it, but they're totally happy with it. At least they say they are. And based on how they act, they seem like they're happier or seem like they're happy about it. You know, and I look at my children, they're spoiled, they have great lives, but they're running around thinking like their life sucks. You know what I mean? It's like, it's perception. You really don't know until you have that wide lens to view with. Everybody, especially me, are viewing a lot of things with narrow blinders on. They can only see and perceive ways in a very narrow fashion. So I don't know. I just don't know if we need to ask our spirit guides, why in the hell am I getting got slapped in the face today? Or why, you know, my spouse has died of cancer, or why this or why that. I just don't know if it has anything to do with past lives or anything else outside of our normal, observable life. What do you think, Becky? Do you feel like you did bad things and you're getting paid back? I don't know.
No.
No?
No. Mine started too early for me to be payback, I think. But I don't ask why anymore. I just roll with it. The whys will drive you crazy.
They will. They can. For sure. For sure. I don't know if I think about death more than the average Joe, but I've thought about death since my dad died in 2011 so much, Becky, that I almost am tired of thinking about it and just wish it would just happen.
I don't want it to happen. I'm not ready for it, but it's traumatizing when that happened. Like, my dad was 5. I was 5 when he died. So clearly I didn't do anything that I was getting paid back for, but it changed everything about me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even who I am now I'm different because of all of that.
How do you feel like you're different? Like, do you just view mortality differently, and that kind of branches off into everything else, or?
Yeah, but my perspective on things is different. Like, I'll hear somebody say, "Oh, I had a terrible dad." Well, but he's alive, and you can know him. You know
it's
what
like
I mean?
You didn't. That meme pops up. You didn't die.
Well, right. But it's just my perspective is just a little bit different, probably, than somebody who's had a dad their whole life. They're like, "Oh, I hate him." Well, that's a terrible thing to say,
Well,
unless he did something really terrible.
Now that I've thought about it for this, I mean, I've thought this a million times. Once something really, 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 really bad happens to you, you have like a new bottom. You have a new end of the spectrum So if you're like having a crappy day at work, or you had a fight with your spouse, or whatever happened, you compare it to that one really bad thing and you're like, not really bad at all.
Right.
Right? So that's kind of how it like changes how you perceive things, really. It just gives you a longer ruler to measure your suffering at that time. I feel like if everybody just had held that ruler in their hand as they walk through every second of every day, life would be different. Like, not too long ago, Becky, I didn't advertise this on social media, but me and Christy were in McDonald's drive-thru for breakfast, and she was ordering. And the guy behind us thought that she was taking too long. So he yells out the window, you know, "What the hell are you doing? Go inside and order." And she turns around and she thought she recognized the guy, and she said, "What?" And she realized she didn't know the guy. And she done it faster than I say, don't say anything just ignore him. But it happened too fast. So of course, in that moment of time, I felt like, oh, I got to get out of the car and get in this guy's face. Okay, because he said something to my wife I didn't like. So I walked over there, told him, what I thought, yada, yada, yada. And it was a point where I feel like in my youth, I would have probably almost went to prison because the anger that I talked about before we went live. But I felt like it was just necessary for me to give that guy a message in, close proximity. Because, anybody can yell at anybody randomly in the drive-thru. Oh, yeah. But do it to my face. Like, come up right into my personal space and do it. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just felt like, damn, people need to just shut the fuck up. I'm sorry if that offends you, but people need to shut up, compose yourself in public. You don't have to treat everybody, super great. All you got to do is not be stupid.
Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. Like, people are shooting each other over nothing in traffic. Shooting cops in the face, shooting innocent people, shooting their kids. Doing the craziest stuff for no reason. Why are you doing that? I don't get it. Like, this world's nuts. This world's absolutely insane. I don't get it, Becky. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's a scary place.
It scares me to death. And what is really scary is our kids have to walk around in this world like 20, 30 years ago. We didn't have to deal with this crap. It was not like this.
No, not at all.
Like, you didn't have to fear to go to school of getting shot to death with fully automatic weapons. Just the other night. Yeah, now they do. Just the other night, someone I watched on my Ring camera. They walked right past my house and broke into my sister-in-law's car and stole money right out of her car. And we live in almost the most rural area in Ohio you could possibly live. It can happen to anyone at any time, anywhere.
We leave our door unlocked.
That's crazy, Becky. I hope that doesn't come back to get you. I hope that's not.
I mean, the dog sounds like Cujo, but I figure if they're brave enough to come through the dog, then
let them.
Yeah.
Is the dog always in the house?
Oh yeah, and he really does sound like Cujo.
German Shepherd?
No, he's a pit bull.
Oh.
So he sounds like he will eat you, but he really won't.
He will lick your face.
Yep, he will. But he really sounds like he's ferocious.
Sam, are you not understanding what I'm saying? Because my voice is too low, or the words I'm using? Shannon said, I have thought about death since my own dad's suicide at 8, but even before then I knew life would only get worse. My aunt remembers me crying at 5 about getting old and that difficult difficulty that would come my way. I understand what you're saying. Okay. Joseph Moore says, not being stupid is very hard for a lot of people nowadays. Why though, dude? Why?
What's that movie about the people that get more stupid? What is that movie?
That's called Life. The only one I know is Reality. I don't know. I don't watch many movies.
I don't either, but there's this movie, and I'm always fussing because Jason watched it. I'm like, that's the stupidest movie I ever friggin' made. And he's like, well, that's because that's what it's about. It's how people get more stupid with each generation. And then they're like just completely ignorant. And I can't remember that movie's name.
Idiocracy is what Josh Becker
Yes,
said.
that is the one. It's so stupid. But
isn't that the movie where they invented Crocs and they were like, oh, we're going to invent this shoe nobody would wear, and people wear them all the time now?
Right.
I think it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is. It's like coming true now.
Yeah. I haven't even watched the movie. Like, I don't even watch, like, it's rare that I watch movies. I'm a poor soul.
I catch bits and pieces because I can't actually sit still long enough to watch a whole one. It has to be really interesting for me to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, maybe I'm just ADHD and can't pay attention to stuff. Christy tries to get me to watch all the stuff she watches, and I'm like, I can't watch another crime drama. And I only like certain, like the Yellowstone. I only like the older ones that are back, in the past. I can't watch the one that's in present day. She likes that.
Oh, I have to watch the one in present day. I don't like the ones in the past.
You don't?
No.
Oh, come on.
I like that Beth girl.
I think it's 1925 is the one with Harrison Ford. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That one's
I don't know.
Really good. Have you tried watching it?
I think maybe I saw like just a portion of an episode.
Okay. It's weird how we're all different. I guess that's good though. I like them all. Jackass. No, I've watched every second of Jackass.
I watched that movie Jackass, or well, no, maybe it wasn't Jackass. Yeah, it was the bad grandpa one.
I thought it was 1925, Josh.
Maybe it was 18 something.
I thought 1883 was the earliest one. 1923. Is that what it is? Josh, the internet says 1923 is the one with Harrison Ford.
Isn't Harrison Ford Indiana Jones?
Yes.
Yeah, I love Indiana Jones.
Have you watched the new one? The
No.
Dial of Destiny? It's good. It's actually...
I like the old ones.
Yeah, but it might actually be the best one that they've made.
I like the little Asian kid that's Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, Tim McGraw was in 1883. I like that one too. A lot. I wish they made more, but I get why they didn't. 8:57. I hope you enjoyed yourself, Becky. Was it fun?
I did.
Maybe we'll do it again. Like, we'll have friends on here and we'll do stuff. I don't know what. Maybe you can come up with an idea. Maybe chat will come up with an idea. Would you like to see an episode, maybe a longer one, like a 2-hour one, where we're talking about something or doing something? I don't know what. Maybe we're listening to submissions from people's EVP recordings or videos that they've recorded, and we're just having a round table of review. That might be
That would be fun.
Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
What do you think, Missy? She's on mute. She's like, oh, I have to unmute myself. Are you going to sneeze? Looks like she's about to sneeze.
I could get Philip on, and he's got all of his EVPs from Monroe House, and we could go over some of them.
That's a possibility. Even Matt Benton would be a possibility, I think.
Yeah.
Um, let me know in the chat if you're watching this live or in post if that would be something you'd be interested in seeing. Let me know. But we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for coming on, Becky. I think we need to do this more often. Just chill, talk about stuff. Get the mind machine greased up and just churning out thoughts that are worthy of thinking about.
It's definitely
Right?
an interesting subject to check out.
Yeah, I just think people need to be aware of it for the most part. You know, when you're looking at especially people that are have stronger bloodlines to us white mutt people, you know, like indigenous people, African Americans, anybody that suffered, you know, some type of ancestral trauma or insufferable trauma, you know, even like you mentioned, like the Holocaust or whatever. I mean, that's bad. So just be mindful of it and try to be sensitive and caring when dealing with it. But Becky, if you want to hang out on the call while I wrap this up, you can. If you want to just get off the call, you may. But thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for everybody for chatting. It's been awesome. The social medias are on the screen. Facebook, Instagram. I need to change the Twitter one because it's now X, but interfacedeath.net, YouTube, all those things. Go check them out if you haven't. You wouldn't be sorry. Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Without your support, we definitely couldn't be doing the show or anything else for that matter. It is very, very, very helpful. You can check out our Patreon right here and our website right there. And you guys have a good night. We'll come back with something next week and we'll do it again. Take care.